Hey Mama! Welcome to the Everwell Mama podcast, the place where we explore simple, sustainable, self-care and wellness strategies to help you feel your best while managing your busy life. I'm Siobhan Bingham, a holistic life and wellness coach here to guide you as we uncover practical tools that will actually stick, so you can enjoy self-care without the guilt trip. Whether you're a new listener or returning for more, I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive into the next step on your journey to becoming an Everwell Mama. Hey, welcome back. Today, I'm thrilled to have a special guest, Matt Marquez. He's a relationship coach who's here to dive into a topic that every mom can relate to, the mental load. We're talking about how partnership plays a huge role in navigating that invisible to-do list that we're carrying around every day. But here's the twist. You'll get to hear what the mental load looks like from a dad's perspective. And trust me, Matt has some surprising insights that might just change how you approach getting support from your partner. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's jump into this eye-opening conversation. All right. Hello, Matt. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about you. Why should the audience know who you are?
My name is Matt Marquez. I am a relationship coach. And for the last few years, I've been, helping couples who love each other deeply, know that like they're the one for each other, but they're still not quite able to do things that they want to, whether it's parenting, making parenting decisions together, feeling like, they're a team and taking care of their household and like all the chores and everything. Or they have like a big next step, like they're expecting another child. And they're like, wow, if we were to do that today, the way we are now, we're not really going to be capable of doing it without beating each other up. And so we want to become a better team and feel like we can really enjoy life together. So that's what I help people kind of get to that next step.
Nice. That's beautiful and definitely very much needed. I can think of a few times where I wanted to beat up my husband a couple times. And how did you get into this work?
This is just very much something that I had needed myself. When I was dating my partner, and it's now my wife, we went to a workshop it was called Nonviolent Communication, if you've ever heard of it. And we went and they were just like telling me this is like for the first time where I was hearing, hey, anything you want in your life or anything you're trying to do in your life, are you aware of it's something that you really truly want? Like, are you checking in with yourself? And I was like, what? What is this? What is this BS? Because my whole life I had been, told there are just certain things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to get a good job. You're supposed to find a partner, get a house, raise a family. And that was really, I think, the first time where I realized I didn't just have to do what other people told me. Like, actually, if I did do that, I wouldn't necessarily feel satisfied. I wouldn't feel fulfilled. And so I remember they even said, like, do you want to get married? Like, why are you getting married? What need could that possibly be meeting for you? And I was like, that was the first time that I had really heard that question, like to question, why would you want to get married? And I remember I was there on a date. And so I looked over and I'm like, are you listening to this? Like, maybe don't pay so close attention. Like, this is crazy. But that really set me on the path of starting to look inward and like realizing, okay, maybe I do want to be asking myself these questions about what I want out of my life and my relationship. And the more I started to do it with my partner, the more I started to share it with my friends and my family. And then it started to make big changes in like the decisions we were making, not because we felt like we had to, but because we wanted to. And so after a while, I'm like, this is something I think more people need to know about. So I decided to pursue it full time.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to work on yourself too, right? Like, so often I find in couples trying to solve problems between couples, they're just trying to solve like the problem and like attacking the problem rather than focusing on themselves and like, what is it that's going on inside of me that's making this a problem? Or like, how can we better come together and like figure out what this is, like really like put a box around it, right? Like what exactly is the problem here for me personally and for us as a couple. So it's really nice that you were able to do that. But I'm very curious about how this was a date.
Yeah, that was all my partner. She's I think always been someone who's interested in how do you just learn how to show up in the world with like more patience and more love and more care. And I kind of was like, sure, I'll go along. I was like, I'm already a patient guy. I'm already an understanding guy. Like, I don't need to learn anything. But I think I was probably the one who walked out of that a little shook, to be honest. Like, had my worldview rocked a little bit. But I think it really brought us closer. The fact that I think that was actually afterward, my partner told me, she's like, that was when I saw you take this seriously and like kind of get into it. It was like the first time where I thought, okay, this is serious. Like this is someone I think I could spend the rest of my life with.
Nice. That's so sweet. That's good. Good for you, Matt, for taking the plunge and going through the scariness of that workshop. And so now you both have a 4-year-old.
That's right.
And you went on a really big trip together.
We did. Yeah. Yeah.
How was all of that?
It was intense. Yeah, we went to Bali for my partner's cousin's wedding, and we're in South Texas, and so that was like 36 hours or something of travel. And so getting there was just an adventure. And then while we were there, it was also another adventure of just adjusting the time zone. And like at home, we have so many like support systems that we've intentionally created for ourselves and our family. Like both of our parents live here. We have help. We have like a babysitter nanny who comes and helps us. And then we have our own schedule and routines where we both are like taking time to really be that parent. And we didn't have any of that, on this trip for 2 weeks, while we're jet lagged, while we're tired. And so we really made a commitment to each other that like all of our normal expectations for how we just go through our day and how we feel, like that kind of goes out the window. And so we're going to need to like really commit to being there for each other.
Yep.
Because we're not going to be able to rely on anyone else. I think I saw this on Instagram one time where they're like, before you go on a trip, you can just like be like, same team, say that to your partner. And so we said that to each other. And so very much like while we were there, especially in the first couple of days, like we had some intense jet lag and my daughter was like waking up at like 2 a.m. I'm just terrible. I get wrecked when I don't get enough sleep, and my partner can function. And so she said, okay, I'll take those nights. And then in the mornings, I need you to take over. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And so I took over, and then I'd like take her swimming. I'd tire her out, get her breakfast. So that then my partner could sleep. And then we're like, okay, now we can come back and like do things as a family until one of us gets exhausted. And we had to set that intention. And I think that's so important for us also is that we had that trust where we knew like, okay, I'm going to maybe sacrifice something like my rest right now, but like, I know you've got my back. And I know when I need you, you're going to be there to support me.
Yeah. And it sounds like you guys had really good communication between you two the whole time too, right? Which is such an important piece of it.
Yeah, it's an essential part of it. Absolutely.
And so for the moms that are out there that maybe struggle with starting those types of conversations and that kind of communication, what's like a tip or a strategy that you could share in order to kind of like bridge that gap, like make it just a little bit easier to start those conversations with your partner?
Yeah, I would say even before the conversation, I would say it's really important to be honest with yourself and really talk to yourself about what it is you need and really get clear on that. Actually, I work with couples, and actually, I would say I work more with women and moms in particular with younger kids. And when I ask them, hey, what are you doing for yourself? They're like, what? What are you talking about? And so actually they're like, well, can you help me understand what it is I need? And so I think that is such a big, big challenge for women and moms in particular who, have partners who are working and often they have careers themselves. And so like they have this mindset, and I think this isn't just women necessarily, but like it often is the case where they're thinking, I have to take care of everyone else first. First, I take care of my kids, then I take care of my partner. And then if there's more time, then I do something for myself. And what that is, it's like, maybe they're not even sure.
Yeah. And it's so easy to let all of those things that you do for yourself drop off because in that postpartum period, everything changes. Your hormones are all out of whack. You're suddenly like with a baby attached to you 24/7. Like you literally can't go out and do the things that you would normally do for yourself.
Yeah.
And so all of those things quickly drop off. And then if you're not intentional about bringing them back in, even in different ways, like you're going to lose it and you're going to forget about how to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, you know better than I do what that experience is like. And I saw my partner do it, and it's so sad and painful. And like, we knew that going into, like, we knew we were going to each need to, have this period where we're struggling, especially having a young child. And like, it still happened to us because it's just that hard. And so and as much as I was like, let me do more stuff for you, like I'm realizing now, looking forward, that the whole time, my partner was also thinking, well, you're struggling too. I need to take care of you first.
Yeah.
And so when I talk to, to other moms about this, they're like, well, I don't have time. I don't have the energy. And so I think so often, when we think about what are you supposed to do, and I use the term self-care, when we do things to take care of ourselves, it's like, yeah, you fit them in when there's time. That's kind of the way I think a lot of people think about it. Even if they're like, yeah, this is important. But when you ask them, well, when do you do it? It's like, well, whenever I have time.
Yeah.
And the way I really try to flip that is like, okay, instead of making that something when you have time, why don't you start there?
Mm-hmm.
Can you start there? And doing those things, whatever they could look like, that make you feel a little bit more rested, a little bit, more like yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And before you even have that conversation, I think with your partner, at first it's like getting clear with yourself what it is do you need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is something that is really tricky for women to figure out, like, what is it exactly that I need, especially having like the time and the space to be able to like have that like internal conversation with yourself, right?
Yes.
So what are some strategies that you suggest to your clients or that you can think of off the top of your head in order to like kind of have that internal conversation?
I would say first, it's like to admit to yourself, like, okay, this isn't sustainable, like the way things are. I have to make that commitment to myself. I need to make a change. I need to do something. And then once you have that, make that commitment, then it's like, okay, what is it that I really need right now? And usually it's something like rest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need some kind of rest. I need some kind of break, because if you just like used to going nonstop, it's like, your nervous system is like fried. And so when I talk to people about this and moms about this, they're like, well, I can't, there's no way I can do anything. It's like, and I'm like, well, what do you need? And like, I need rest. I need to like go on vacation for 2 weeks without my kids, without my family. And then I'll feel like more of like myself.
Yeah.
And so the strategy that I like to recommend is like, okay, so if rest is the thing that you need, if this is the really the need that's crying out in you right now, what is the smallest, easiest version of that thing that you can do for yourself? Instead of like waiting for the 2-week vacation and saying, okay, well, once I get that, then I'll feel better. It's like, okay, well, yes, plan that, or like, try to just work toward that. But in the meantime, you don't have to just wait for that to happen before you feel like you can give yourself rest. Like, what's the smallest version? And it might be, I'm going to lock myself in the bathroom, for like 5 minutes. Or I'm going to just tell my partner, like, I need an hour this morning, take the kids. I'm going to go to a yoga class. And just like whatever that is, the smallest thing, it doesn't have to be big, but just to give yourself a reprieve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that you have this capacity then to like think, okay, I have a breath. Now what's the next step? Yeah,
That's so important, being able to recognize that you need these small incremental steps, right? Because yeah, those 2-week vacations are nice. I always say like spa days are really nice, but one, they're going to break the bank. And two, they're not sustainable, right? Like you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to go on that vacation, you're going to go to the spa, and then you're going to come back to the exact same position that you were in before, and you're going to be tired again, and you're going to be stuck in the same situation you were in before, which is just going to lead to you further being burnt out. So I agree that it's very important to have those small little actions every day that can help you to feel better, so that you're able to continuously add to your own bucket and have it be something that's going to last long term, right? It's going to be something that is sustainable.
Yeah, and I like what you said about it being like a long-term sustainable thing. It's like I imagine self-care as an ongoing practice. It's not just like a one-time thing. Like, well, I had a spa day 2 weeks ago, so like I'm good. Like that's not the way it works. I wish it were for all of us, but it's like, I mean, in many ways, it's like going to the gym. It's like you don't go to the gym once and you're like, oh, my physical fitness is like it's done. No, it's like it has to be a regular commitment. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're kind of small getaway or a small thing that gives you a little bit of rest, maybe gives you a little bit of just a break, is like, I'm going to just go to the coffee shop or something. It's like, instead of just saying, I'm going to do this every 2 weeks or something, or whenever I have time, it's like, make it a commitment. I'm going to go every day.
Mm.
What are the things you can do every day for yourself? And then make sure you do it. Put it in your schedule. Make sure that it's just a commitment that you are going to do for yourself. I mean, in a sense, it's like, okay, there's the whole, like, you can't pour from an empty cup, so like, yes, you're filling your cup so that you can do more for your kids and your partner, but like really do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the main thing.
So let's get into the idea of the mental load. And really, I would love to know and like hear your perspective as a dad and as a partner. Like, what does the mental load look like for you? Like, what is your experience as a dad, as a partner? What's your experience of the mental load?
I would say that it's something that often benefits me because my partner is someone who's like, I need to take care of him, and I need to help with the kids more. And so it was like invisible to me, to be honest. And like, I would talk to my parents and my dad and like my father-in-law, and I would be there with my daughter, and there would be like, oh my God, this is like so much more work than I remember. My mother-in-law and my mom would be there, and they'd be like, that's because you weren't helping. You weren't there. When I heard that and I saw that the same thing was happening in my relationship, even though I was like, I'm a relationship coach and I'm like, I've wanting to be there for my partner, it was still happening. It's just so easy to slip into that. And what I realized is that it does take us both being aware of it and both making a commitment to support each other. And in my case, it means like maybe even committing more than I think I have to. Like, it's just easy for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take some time for myself to go play tennis this evening, because I know, my partner also wants to spend time with our daughter. And so it's like, yeah, of course she wants to do it, even though she's been working all day too, and she was helping in the morning and doing dinner. And it's like, she needs a break too. We talk a lot about what it is we need from each other. And it's something that I like almost have to like kind of squeeze out of my partner. Like, what do you need? Because she doesn't really want to tell me. She doesn't have that like instinct to just like share it, because she's just like, no, I have to do it. I just have to do it. And so I really have to be like, no, I want to do something. And what she's been telling me lately, and I think this might be useful, is she says, look, if there's something you want to do for me, I just need you to do it. Just instead of giving me choices and like making me feel like I have to decide for you, just do it. Like, if you want to like make dinner, just make it. It didn't even occur to me to like, for me to ask her to make a choice. I'm giving her more work.
Yeah. Absolutely. It could be very frustrating because, well, it's like that debate, right? Of like, what do you want for dinner? And then the person has to be like, oh, well, I want this, maybe that. And then the person's like, can you just make a choice? Right.
Yeah.
It's that weird waiting and like having to having to like have this decision fatigue of all of these different options of like what to do or what to take off my plate to give to you, right? So yeah, having that communication, but also knowing that your partner is able to just take something off of your plate fully and take the decision off of your plate would be.
Hey, Mama. Do you feel like you're running on empty, just trying to keep up with the day to day? I totally get it. Finding time for yourself can feel impossible. That's exactly why I created guilt-free energy hacks for working moms who are tired of being tired. A free, quick-access PDF filled with simple ideas to help you recharge without the guilt. Inside, you'll find 21 easy, realistic energy hacks organized by how much time you might need. One of them takes as little as 30 seconds. Whether you're at home, at work, or on the go, these strategies fit into your day so you can feel more energized and ready to tackle whatever gets thrown at you next. So if you're ready for a little more you time without sacrificing everything else, head down to the show notes to try them out for free. You deserve it, and I promise your energy will thank you.
And I think the one thing that's helped us is to treat these kinds of like as experiments. Instead of saying, okay, we're going to like solve everything, we're going to solve, this division of the mental load. I'm just going to try something. I'm just going to do it and try something. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, we'll talk about it and then we'll like go from there. And so like one of the things we did is we decided, okay, well, there's going to be a day where I'm the caretaker. I'm going to be the one who's taking our daughter out, going to the park, and like I'll do lunch and I'll do like a nap time and everything. And we'll just see how it goes. And we did it, and it was like fantastic. Like I felt closer to her, she felt closer to me. It gave, my partner a break. So we didn't have to worry about like getting a babysitter or anything like that. And so we did it, and it was great. And then sometimes I try things, we've tried some stuff, and I'm trying to think of something that we like didn't work out. I think we tried me waking up early to do like morning like brushing her teeth, making breakfast. And we've learned, unfortunately, that like if I have to wake up before a certain time, I'm just like dead. But I can do night times. So I started doing more bedtimes.
Nice.
So it's like, but we're just like experimenting. Like, okay, let's just treat it. Let's just try something, see how it lands, and then just keep experimenting to find out. Because this is like it's an ongoing experiment. It's an ongoing project. It's never just like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and this is it, the way it's going to be forever. We're constantly tweaking it because like our life circumstances are constantly changing. Our schedules, our responsibilities. My partner's a professor. So like sometimes when she has like midterms and finals and a lot of grading, a lot of projects, like she has less time to offer. So I'm like, okay, that's my time to do more.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's never just like a one size fits all solution. It's like constantly tinkering with it. And so I think having that mindset that we're always going to be working on it, we're always going to be figuring out the next thing. I think that helps us have the expectation that we're not just trying to find one solution. We're just constantly trying to just help each other out.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I think that's so important in any relationship, right? Like whether it's the relationship with your child or your partner, like relationships are always evolving, always continually changing because circumstances are changing and everything. So it's really nice to be able to like support each other through that, knowing that everything's going to keep changing, but you're still working as a team together to get to that end goal, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I know you had mentioned earlier, like how to have that conversation. And I definitely want to address that too, about I need more help. I need more support. And I would say, going back to like that whole, like once you know what you need, like for example, like my partner would say like, I'm just tired. I can't keep doing this. I really need more support. And the way we talked about it, and I think, and this is the way I also work with clients and moms and try to help them work with this, is to really focus on your own experience. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. Like I need help. And instead of worrying specifically about like, this is exactly what I need, like I need you to throw the trash. I need to make dinner. I need you to do bedtime. I need you to whatever, like instead of like making a list of things to do, what I recommend and what I've done in my relationship is we say, okay, this is like the core thing I need. Now can we figure out together how to make that happen? If she just said like, I need you to step up, I need you to like be a better dad. I need you to be a better like partner, like you're slacking, like you are letting me down. Instead of coming with like that kind of critical approach, like if I hear that, I'm going to be like, oh, whoa. What about I did this, then we're keeping score. And it's really hard to have a sense of partnership if you're just like being critical of each other and saying, well, you're not doing enough. And so instead of doing that, coming from the place of this is my experience. I'm tired. I need help. I need more support. Now, I really want to figure out with you, how can we work together so that I can get some more of this? Because this is really important to me. And when you bring it up like that, it just softens my heart to know that my partner is struggling in that way. She's just being vulnerable with me. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't fully understand what you were going through. Now that I understand, thank you for sharing that. I do want to be there for you. I do want to support you. Now finding a solution becomes a collaborative experience because she's just saying, here's the goal. I need more support. Now let's figure out together how to get there. And the way that usually happens, I think it'd be most effective is to do brainstorming. And so we'll just start to throw out ideas. And the key thing is that the idea has to work for both of us. It can't just be one or the other. If it's just for her, it's not sustainable. If it's just like for me, then it's not even giving her what she needs. And so it really has to be sustainable. But it doesn't have to be like but you don't know until you try it. And so I think there also has to be this willingness to like have that experimentation, that sense of experimentation. And so we're like, okay, we're going to try something. And so like when we did the, like me having like a day for myself with our daughter, like we said, okay, let's try it for a month. Once a week, you're the guy, you're the dad. That's it. And we'll try it for a month and then see how it goes. And then we like come back, we check in. How did that go? And I was like, there were some parts that were a little bit challenging, but like, this was great. Like overall, I really like the outcome. Does it work for both of us? Yes, it does. Let's keep doing it. And so that's the kind of conversation that you can have where it becomes a collaborative experience instead of like a critical one.
Yeah. And how do you suggest navigating these types of like adult conversations when you've got a bunch of kids running around?
Ideally, they're not. And so either because those are tough. Those are tough. They can be tough conversations to have. And so I mean, I would really try to think about how do we create space to have this conversation. So it's either can we do it after bedtime? Can we do it early in the morning? Can we do it during work hours when they're in school or something? I would really try to be open to just finding a time where you can be fully present and focused on this because it does need that attention. And maybe you're not going to find the ideal perfect environment where you're like feeling you're rested, you have all the time in the world. Maybe that's not possible. Maybe it's worth even hiring like a babysitter for like an hour or something just to have that conversation because this is important enough that it's not just to help you navigate the next day or the next week. Like this is like how to set yourself up so that going forward, you have more of a partnership and you're both feeling like you're getting what you need from each other.
What would you say would be like the biggest change that you've facilitated for your clients?
I would say this has been something that's come up lately. I would say it is really exploring, helping people understand why it feels so hard to ask for anything for help, like from your partner.
Mm-hmm.
There's this, actually, I've been reading this book. My partner and I, we actually run like a parenting meetup as well, where we kind of talk about parenting stuff. And we're reading a book, maybe you've heard of it. It's called A Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
We read it as like a book club almost. And in the last chapter we read, she said something. I actually wrote it down. I wanted to share it. She said, "I'm allowed to have things, even if it inconveniences others." I think I might be paraphrasing that, but that's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that a lot of my clients struggle with, this idea that you're allowed to have things.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions that I ask them is, why does it feel hard? Why does it feel hard to ask your partner, I need more help? And what has come up, and this has come up multiple times, is this idea that moms or women, people feel like they have to earn that help, that you are not inherently worthy of getting that support.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to sacrifice and help everyone else first, and then you've earned the right to be able to rest or
Mm-hmm.
have some time to exercise or do something. A lot of times, I think this has come up where these are things that we learn as children because we see our parents. You might see your mom sacrificing what she wants because she feels like, no, I have to take care of, I'm being a good wife, a good mother, and I'm going to take care of everyone else first. And so you can be aware of that and also be like, oh, I don't want to be like my mother. She was always tired. She was always angry. And like, I don't want to live like that. And you can know that consciously and yet still, but we can know consciously, like, okay, I saw my parents do this. I don't want that for myself. And yet, like, we still engage in these behaviors where we're copying them
Yep.
and not realize it. And so it really, I think, takes this awareness of what are my behaviors like saying about
Yeah.
what I believe. So it really takes that introspection, because I think if you believe that you have to prove your worth, that you deserve to have things, no matter how many spa days, no matter how many coffee runs or coffee breaks or yoga sessions you have, you're not going to feel like you're getting everything that you need.
Mm-hmm.
The shift I would say that can be really profound is to recognize that and just allow yourself to experience it and feel it and realize, okay, this is not acceptable to me. I want to change this. I want more for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes possible to make those long-term changes where, okay, now I'm prioritizing what I do for myself, because that's not, you believe that your needs come last.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that helps get rid of that layer of guilt too, that like introspection and being able to see that like this is what I need in order to be a successful mom or to be like the person that I want to be. And in order to be able to like get all of these wonderful things that I want, I need to like be able to do these things. And once you've done that work, then that guilt kind of fades away a bit because you know that it's benefiting all of those other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's wonderful that you've had that awareness and understanding for yourself. Do you feel like you are kind of getting everything you need right now?
I think for the most part, like I don't think I'm ever a person that would say that like everything is a solid 10. I think I'm a little bit more of a realist than that, but yeah, I feel pretty good. Like my youngest is now 10
Mm-hmm.
months. So rest obviously like a little bit more would be nice just because we're still like doing multiple wakes a night and everything. But like all things considered, like it's very much fine. Like I don't feel like it's something that's really lacking. It's just like it would be nice to have like a solid stretch like throughout the whole night, you know? But I think I've done a lot of work, and my husband and I have done a lot of work in our communication as well, in order to be able to like have those conversations and like dive deep into like what it is that like needs to happen for us to feel okay. For example, in my first postpartum period, I'm someone who's a bit of a germaphobe, and I have very like high standards of what clean looks like in the house. And his level of clean is lower than mine. And so that was a conversation that we had to have quite a few times, just because I couldn't like give him the baby for like 3 hours while I deep clean the house, right? Like that just wasn't going to happen anymore. So I had to like lower my standards a little bit to have it be like clean, but not like deep scrubbing the baseboards every single day, right? And then he needed to like step up his level of what clean looked like a bit more too. And so one of the ways that we did that was like he takes on like doing deep cleans of the bathroom.
And after you've done that, I mean, how did it feel to make that arrangement?
Great. It was like terrifying, honestly, to have the conversation at first. It was just that like guilt piece, right? Not feeling like I was able to like do it enough, right? But now with our
So what's
second, like
changed?
my comfort level in being able to ask for support has changed. And knowing that like doing things like this or like having these pieces of time for me helps me show up better for him and for the kids later. Right? Like when I'm constantly on, constantly going, constantly doing all of the things that I could do as mom, then I'm not getting enough Siobhan time. And then I'm not getting enough like mental stimulation to be able to like go back into reading Robert Munch a bunch of times, right? Like I need to be able to have times to get that stimulation in other ways. And so being able to explain that to him without feeling guilty has helped. But also him being able to like see how it's affected me, I think has helped too. Because like you said, like once I went to him, he was like, "Oh my God, of course I can help." Like he was so happy to help, right? But it's just that like initial push, I guess, of like being able to ask for help was scary. And then just like having repeated conversations, right? Like making sure that we're continually talking about things and figuring things out together. Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. I love like celebrating progress and understanding connection and all that. And like it sounds like you guys have really just made such a huge achievement in that. So that's awesome. Really happy to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. There are still things, don't get me wrong, that are tricky, but
Always, yeah. And there's something though you said though that I really want to highlight, and I'm paraphrasing, but you said something like, I really cared about the cleanliness of my house.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing maybe there's like some sense of like security, like I want my family to be safe by
Mhm.
having everything feel clean
Yeah.
and hygienic. And I think for a lot of, like you mentioned, the guilt, I think a lot of people will say, well, there's something else. There's more that I can do. Like as a mom, as a, head of this household, to protect my family. Because like if you think about all the things you can do as a parent, it's like endless. It's like literally
Yeah.
endless. You could always be doing more.
Mhm.
And that if that's the case, if you're always thinking about like, well, I should be doing more, I should be doing this other thing, like you will always feel guilty because anytime you choose to do something for yourself, you are like neglecting, I'm doing air quotes, neglecting your responsibility. That's so important. But what you did, which I think is so important and something I really help with my clients do, is you made a conscious choice to say, okay,
Mhm.
I'm going to ask for some support from my partner to help me get this, work on the cleanliness, work on the secure sense of security that's so important to me. And I am also going to prioritize these other needs I have. My need for like stimulation, maybe for connection, contribution through my podcast, all the whatever needs you might be meeting through that. And so because you are choosing to prioritize, it's not like you are neglecting anything. Because, you don't have to feel guilty because you're saying, okay, I feel like I am satisfied with how we as a couple are meeting this need. And that gives me the space so that I can meet these other needs that are also very important to me.
Yeah, I really like that, especially like the wording of like choosing something versus having it like be a demand, right? Like I'm choosing to do these things versus I have to do these things. Like even that subtle wording can make a really big difference in how you're thinking about things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so easy, I think, to slip into this place where we feel like, well, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, because there's an endless number of tasks and responsibilities we can have as parents, and so if we don't consciously choose how our decision, like why we're making decisions, we will just feel like slaves. We will feel slaves to our partners, to our kids, and that's just a painful place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, there are so many women throughout history who have been in that place and likely modeled for us that that's the way that it should be, which is probably why it's so difficult to start these conversations now.
Yeah, sometimes I like will go on Reddit and like I see so many people, women in particular, saying, I love my partner, I love my husband, like he's so great, he loves me, he loves our kid, but it's like he doesn't care. He
Yeah.
doesn't get why, like I need him to come home and help around the house and help with the kid. Like I'm just losing my mind. And like sometimes I'll go on and I'll be like, well, what have you done? Like what have you tried to do? And it's like, well, one time I blew up. Like I got so angry, I got so fed up, I just like blew up. And then it got better because he started to help out a little bit more. And then after 2 weeks, it went back to the way it was. Because it takes teamwork, like it takes partnership. You both have to be intentionally making this effort over the long haul. And so that's why it's so important to be having conversations instead of just getting so fed up that you just kind of blow up. And then it'll help for a little while, but it requires that intentional communication.
Yeah. And otherwise, like you're just gonna like it might be good for a little bit, but likely that's like slowly tapering off for that little bit too. And so then you're already starting to build up again. Like I explained to my daughter that like our bodies are like volcanoes, right? And so like when we're like down at the bottom, we're cool, calm, and collected. We're like floating on that like nice hot spring, right? But then as things add up in our volcano, like we slowly get higher and higher until we erupt, right? So likely as things are tapering off in those 2 weeks or however long they're being good for, then you're probably climbing up in that volcano.
Yeah, and I love that analogy, and also though every time that cycle repeats, it's like your frustration is also going to grow and grow. You're like, oh my God, this is happening again. Why doesn't he understand? Why doesn't he get it? Why isn't this sinking in? Is it because there's something wrong with him? Or is there something wrong with our relationship? Like, is there a fundamental problem? And that's often, I think, that often pops up where becomes this question of, is there a fundamental issue with our relationship that prevents him from getting this? Like, do we not love each other enough? Does he not truly love me? Does he not truly care about me and what I need? That comes up, I think, so often, even when it's like, man, I know he cares about me, but why does he not seem to show it?
Mm-hmm. One tool that I have started to try to do for when I'm feeling those moments of like frustration with my partner is I have like this running list in a journal. At the top, it just says like how he shows up for me. And then I just like write down whenever something comes up that he's showing me that he loves me, that he's showing me that he's committed, that he's showing me whatever, right? Something positive. I write it down and give or take once a week, I try to read through all of them. And then that way, if something negative comes up, like he leaves his tea bag in the cup again, rather than throwing it out, instead of focusing on that negative, like the tea bag is still in the cup again, instead of thrown out in the garbage, that's okay, because I still have all of these positives that are replacing that negative, right? And then my brain, rather than focusing on that one negative, is automatically thinking of that list of all of the positives. And so I found that it's been very helpful for me to like kind of negate those negatives.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that. I it's so easy, I think, for us to have the story in our head that pops up when you see that tea bag, like, oh gosh, he's being a slob again. He's like being messy. And so then like having that list, it's like, wait. No, that's not the whole story. Like he actually is showing up in so many meaningful, important ways for me.
Mm-hmm.
I totally see how that would be an effective strategy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So far, so good. Before we sign off, I've got one last question for you. So if a woman were listening and said, like, I've tried talking to him, I've tried like showing up as a team, I've tried all of these things before, what would be like one thing that you would suggest that they maybe try again, or something new that they could try?
Instead of trying to change your partner or your husband and like make them do something, well, another way of approaching it would be to say, why does this feel hard? Why does it seem hard? And really try to let them explain that and open up about that, because that changes the whole energy of the conversation. Like we were saying before, it changes it from being like a critical thing and where like, hey, you need to do this. You're not doing enough. Instead of it being like, what's going on? Because I want to be able to support you so that we can support each other. And so there goes that shift to like, how do we be a team again? How can we be partners?
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, Matt. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and having a quick chat with me. I've really enjoyed our conversation and makes me feel better about having the tea bags and the cups. So if anyone in the audience wanted to find you or reach out to you, maybe get some relationship coaching or support with anything, how could they find you?
Yeah, you could either find me on social media. My handle is @growingmorejoy. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And my website is growmorejoy.com. And that would be a way to reach out and schedule a time to talk.
Nice. And do you have any like resources or anything like that?
So many of these conversations we've been talking about, like, how do you have this conversation where you're able to be vulnerable, you're able to understand each other? I actually have a guide on exactly how to have that kind of conversation. I call it Get Your Partner to Open Up guide. And you can get that through my website when you sign up to the newsletter. And I can also share the link with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will link everything down in the show notes below so that people can quickly find you as well.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. You can find the transcript and all the resources mentioned in the show notes below. If this episode was helpful, I would really appreciate you leaving a 5-star rating and review so I can keep making it. Also, I want to make sure this podcast actually answers your wellness questions. If you've got a specific question about how to implement more wellness into your already filled day, send me a DM on Instagram @EverwellCoaching so I can share resources or create a future episode just for you. Stay tuned for our next episode, and until then, remember to take a moment each day to do something that fills your cup, Mama.